Hello, my name is Kenneth Hill, and I will be presenting to you on my topic, racial discrimination in education. To start, we begin with what racial discrimination is. Discrimination is defined as treating one or more members of a specified group unfairly as compared with other people. Discrimination may be illegal on the ground of sex, sexual orientation, race, religion, disability, or nationality. Therefore, racial discrimination is treating a group of people unfairly based on their race. One example of this comes from the book, The Handbook of Race and Adult Education, a resource for dialogue on racism. Two former Chicana or Mexican American students, Raquel and Maria, spoke on their experiences. Raquel stated that when applying to college, her counselors were not very encouraging, stating, in fact, for many of our peers, some counselors discouraged college altogether. Raquel and her peers were told by their high school counselor that they shouldn't waste their time applying to college. Another example comes later on in the book when Professor Taj John speaks on her discrimination against her own students as an African American teacher. She stated, "How many times have I minimized a black student's experience when the student has told me that another instructor was treating him or her unfairly? How many times have I tightened my body in anticipation of being embarrassed by a black student's speech patterns or their loudness, wanting to make them invisible? How many times have I expected less because they were black?" These are not the only examples of racial discrimination in education, but those are a few that stood out. Next, we have policy changes. These are attempted policy changes in England. One policy change was EAL, English Language Acquisition. The goal was to help migrant students acquire English skills in England. However, migrant students still scored poorly, and there was no evidence that they received the support and tutoring that was expected from the program. Another was EIC, also known as Excellence in Cities. The goal was to improve the standards of schools in urban areas. A branch of our program from EIC was the Gifted and Talented program. Uh, the branch was supposed, or that program was supposed to select students who were gifted and talented and challenge them and help them become more successful students. However, the branch ended up favoring more white English students over people of color in Britain. Uh, they Racial discrimination in education can affect a lot of things. It can lead to minorities having less college degrees than other people because they aren't encouraged enough to go to college, or they're discouraged when they are in college and don't have the tools to succeed. It leads to an education gap between minorities and white Americans and people of color throughout the world. It also leads to financial troubles for minorities, as Demetria Hardis once wrote in an article. She explained that the black and white gap, about the black and white wealth gap, stating that at $171,000, the net worth of a typical white family is nearly 10 times greater than that of a black family at $17,000. So it does lead to financial troubles for minorities throughout the world. Some other statistics that back up the idea that racial discrimination in education affects many people is one is the record 33.4% of Americans hold college degrees in America in 2014, according to the National Bureau. However, in 12.9% of Black Americans make up the population. However, only 10% of Black Americans make up college degrees. Hispanic Americans make up even more of the population at 15.8%. However, they only hold 8% of college degrees in America. To conclude, racial discrimination is still prevalent. It has led to emotional and financial troubles for people of color throughout the world. Policy changes have been unsuccessful in attacking these problems, and we still have a ways to go to eradicate racial discrimination in education and all of the issues and effects that come with it. This is my works cited for what I used during my presentation, and thank you for listening.